So this day was a really great day. Not to say the others weren't, but this one really enjoyed it. Hey, so we yeah. So I woke up and Sterling was just really restless, and interestingly, like he's been more settled. He was more settled while we're out in the bush camping than he has been at this like really flash accommodation, and all that is really interesting. Hey, so um, yeah. So I ended up with Sterling again, and he was on my, like, I had him on this arm, and he was kind of calming down and pretty good, and Beck rolled over, and I had Beck in this arm, and I'm laying there, yeah, dude, 100%. I feel like a king, right? I'm laying there, and I've just got this woman I love on my arm. I've got my new son in this arm, and I'm like, God, life can't get any better. Hey, like it's so good. I loved it. Um, so yeah, and it was just this really really lovely moment where I was like, like things are nice, things are nice. So yeah, um, kids woke up, and Beck chucked the telly on, and I was like still hanging out with Sterling, and and yeah, and so the kids just again were sitting right in front of the telly, and we figure, like, obviously we don't like the television, but for what it's worth, it's holiday time. The kids, we'll let them off the hook a bit, eh? So they yeah, so they just kind of like sat and watched, and again, just like ABC Kids or whatever it was, like nothing fancy, and obviously we needed to pack the trailer and all that sort of thing. Um, so we yeah, so Tilly helped Beck make the coffees because we took our coffee machine with us down to Esperance. So, and that was really cool, and it's funny, hey, because like it's like the power of books, man. Is that so? Beck started reading the Montessori book yesterday, and already less than 12 hours later, Beck's perspective, and one of the reasons Beck doesn't really get the kids to help as much as they could help is because she's like, I know I can just get it done faster, and all that, and she's right. Um, but for her, it can just be very frustrating because you've got someone who is very, very much incompetent, wanting to be very competent, and that's a slow process. And when there's like a goal of getting the coffees made, in this case, um, then she's just like, no, just get it done, and you can hand them a coffee or something like that. Whereas after reading like the first, just even the introduction stuff to the Montessori, um, even that just kind of helps you understand the philosophy and how it all works and how it all fits together, for and already you can see the change in how she's operating and how she's like showing up with the kids and what she's getting the kids involved with. And it was really cool to look at that and just go, man, like that's the power of learning right there. And yeah, and so Tilly was helping her make the coffees, and just, man, like the kids, dude, whenever the kids are involved, man, the pride that they have, and because they can do something, and like you believe as a parent, yeah, that you can do that, and then they prove you right. Man, talk about like building esteem and building pride in themselves. Hey, so yeah, so Beck did that, and then we went and sat out the front and watched the sunrise, and man, it was good. It was absolutely incredible. Hey, we're sitting on this, over West Beach, and we're sitting there, and all we're doing is like coffees and watching the waves come in, and like the birds fly over, and the boats just sitting on the water, and this it just, all of it is magic. We're sitting there with our coffees and Sterling and watching the waves, and Eliza's kind of coming in and out. The other girls, they're not really interested. They're watching telly and stuff. And we were just going like, what a way to start the day. It was so good. So we really enjoyed that. That was a really really great memory. Um, yeah, really enjoyed that. Yeah. So anyway, so we quickly shot into town. And again, we said to the kids, come on, let's last our holidays, pick what you want for brekkie. And there are some things they picked that we vetoed because we went into town. We just went to the IGA and straight away, lollies, chocolate, lollies. And we're like, no, you can have them later. But, so I ended up picking something pretty decent. Can't remember what it was. We got some fruit. We went over to downtown, got some coffees there and stuff. And we... Oh, that's right. I'm just looking at my notes here. I was trying to make sense of what I'd written down. So we're toilet training Eliza, right? So fast forward. So we got all our stuff and we hop in the car and we head back to the accommodation to finish packing. So we're toilet training Eliza, right? The deal is when she does a poo or a wee on the toilet, just as means of incentivization, we give her these little tiny lollies, tiny little things. And she knows where they are. And we've kept them in the car. And she grabbed them and very quickly consumed a lot of them. And Beck found her, and pulled them out of her mouth and threw them across the grass. And Beck's inside, we're getting the clothes put away and all this sort of stuff. And Beck says to me, she was like, have you seen Eliza? I was like, no, I haven't. Go outside, or Beck goes outside. She's lying down on the grass, trying to find these lollies in the grass. Oh, dude, kids' diligence, man, when they want something, is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. So yeah, that made me laugh so much. I can't remember what prompted me to say this, but one of the things that Eliza does, which is really, really sweet, she does two things actually. Her vocab's still, for the most part, pretty limited, but if you ask her something and she's really intent and meaningful, she'll be like, yeah. And it's really sweet. And she doesn't mean to be trying woe is me or anything like that. It's just how she pronounces it is very, very sweet. Everything's really, really meaningful. And then she does this other one where she's got this out of, and I want to catch it. I want to capture it on a video, and I just can't quite. I haven't been able to get it yet. Where she just out of nowhere will just be like, "Yay!" And it's just really, really cute "yay" that she does, and I'd love to catch it, but I haven't been able to catch it yet. Another thing. That I was meant to cover in a few episodes prior. So Tilly came up to us when we were out bush, and she was like, "Oh, you fucking monkey!" And Beck and I are sitting in our chairs and looking at each other, and Mitch is just there, and I was like, "What was that?" And she thinks it's hilarious. She's like, "Ah, you fucking monkey!" And we're like, "Sorry, Tilly, say that again." And she's like, "Yeah, you fucking monkey!" And we're like, babe, where did you hear that? She's like, oh, I saw it on the movie on Madagascar. And we're like, on Madagascar? She's like, yeah. And we're like, baby, I promise you that is. She's like, no, it's on Madagascar. I was like, darling, I know for certain it was not on Madagascar. Maybe they said, you funky monkey. She's like, no, she said fucking monkey. I was like, So we had to set some ground rules with her, which is funny. So yeah, that was another little thing that happened. So anyway, so we did all that, loaded up the car. Mate of ours who's got the farm, they've got some helicopters, and he asked us if he could send us back to Kalgoorlie with some helicopter doors, which, luckily we had a lot of room, so I was like, yep, no dramas. We actually didn't have a lot of room, but we had enough room for those heli doors. So took them down with us and caught up with him real quick. So then we started the drive back to Kalgoorlie. So it's funny. Hey, I think this is why I want to be doing these in real time, and it's good to be back in Cal and back in routine, because I'll do these at the end of every night. instead of trying to play catch up again. Because like I'm looking back here at my notes, and for 3 hours while I was driving back to Kalgoorlie, man, I was stressing out over some shit for business. And now I'm looking back, like obviously I'm a bit more lighthearted and somewhat jovial, and 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 having come through it, it's just like whatever. But like in the moment, to record the stress in the moment, or not the stress in the moment, but like have it in real time rather than just like a footnote. I think that this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, is because I want to record what it's like in real time, and then to be able to look back and be like, "Ha, wow, what a prank! That wasn't even that bad," you know. Yeah. So yeah, and ultimately, man, like it's like there's that Stoic quote. Hey, and I can't remember who said it, but that you suffer more in thought than reality, and or maybe it's not Stoicism, but it ties in very nicely with Stoicism. Yeah, is that you do suffer more in thought than reality, and half the time, we exacerbate things by ruminating on them so much that it's not necessary. Hey, like it makes life harder than it needs to be. So yeah. So anyway, so we're driving back to Cal, and a few things came up, and some pretty gnarly bills came through. I was like, shit. Like in amongst all this other shit we got going on as well, I was just like, oh boy. So yeah. So anyway, that was like a welcome back to Cal. um, yeah. So the thing. Okay. So here's the thing I've been looking at recently, and I've been talking about it a lot, and I think the implementation might be a bit longer than I'm expecting it to be. So what I'm wanting to do in the business is that I'm wanting to run my business open book, where all my staff, no matter how old they are, no matter what their position is that they all um, see, and they all have access, or not have access, but they all see our financials, our P&L, our balance sheet, the whole lot. And there's that guy, I can't remember his name. He's got the Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, I think his name is. He alludes to that he did that with his team, but it's really easy when you're already like a multi millionaire and you're doing a podcast, and this is the context, was someone, he flipped the lid on the financials for his team, and showed them that he hasn't actually drawn any money from the business. And they were like, oh wow, like it's so impressive, and so like all this sort of shit. And I'm just like, yeah, but like that's amazing when you don't need an income. Like it's different when you have to justify it. And I'm looking forward to running an open book. My biggest thing is I need to understand how to implement that in a way that there's not entitlement from everyone, um, and in a way that people actually understand what the financials look like. Because I mean, we do over $1 million, and for them to see $1 million coming through, and they might only get paid like, let's just say they're casual and they only work the weekends, well, they might only get paid like say 20 grand for the year, and and they're like, yeah, but like, how is that fair? There's a few things to consider. I mean, like one of them is the fact that I sold my house to start the business, or to fund it. I feel like that's a pretty big reason, you know. And but also let's just say that okay, we're past all that, and I've recouped all that money, and I've got some investments and whatever, and let's just say like we're netting 500,000. Let's just say that, or whatever, 200 grand, and that's after Beck and I have been paid. Then it's like, well, do we like we have to actually, we're accountable for that income, and we have to, if it's unfair, genuinely unfair, that we're just lining our pockets at the heart on the back of everyone else's hard work, or yeah, I think that's pretty unethical. And I don't like that model of business, and yeah, so I'm exploring at the moment all these different ways of running open book management, and just trying to find how it suits for us. So I say all that to say that I've been listening to this book called The Great Game of Business, and these guys really, like back in the 80s, they really took off with it, and have done really well. So I was listening to that while driving back to Kalgoorlie, and it's a really inspiring book. It's very simple and actionable, which I quite like. So yeah. So then I also reached out to these. So I've been using this group called Foodie Coaches, and I reached out to them and I was like, hey, listen, like, you guys talk about open book management as well, and that's something that they use in their coaching business with their coaches, and which which I think is really great. And then I messaged them and I was like, hey, like, did you get it from this group? And they're like, yeah, they did. And I was like, okay, cool. How do I get this? Like, have you guys adapted it for hospo? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, give me the info. And they're like, no, like, it's up at the next tier. And I was like, nah, that frustrated the shit out of me, eh? So, I mean, like, these guys, like, they're good at what they do, and they've dealt with like that many different hospo businesses that, um, and I know there's a lot of gaps in our business as well, but also I'm conscious that I could make all these decisions myself and see all the gaps myself, or I could incorporate the hive mind of my entire team and we could problem solve, because there's only so much that I'm going to see, especially not being in the business as much anymore. Whereas they see it, they're at the grassroots and using the collective knowledge and the collective intelligence rather than just mine. I think there's a lot of value in that. So, yeah. So anyway, we drove back to Cal, dropped the kids off. First thing I did is I went to my doctor's appointment for my vasectomy meeting, and pretty much they just go over everything. It's like 15 minutes. Yeah, do you know the risks? Do you know this? Do you know that? This could happen. That could happen. Blah 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 blah. Yep. Perfect. Great. So I've got my vasectomy in 7 days, and yeah, game over. Um, so yeah, so that was cool. Really insightful actually. And did you know, like, so that they snip your tubes and shit, and they tie one end off so you keep producing sperm. Like, I'll keep producing sperm for the rest of my entire life, and it just goes into like your scrotum and just dies, which is wild. But in very very rare, very 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 rare occasions, the other tube can the tubes can reconnect, and then you're back in action, which is crazy. Like, imagine that. So yeah, so that's a thing. Um, yeah, learn something new every day, huh? So yeah, so that was interesting. There was a lot that I learned about my own biology there. Generally, I'm pretty curious, so I hit it with a few questions, but doesn't affect your hormones. Doesn't change anything like that. That's just yeah, you just shooting blanks. So yeah, so that'll be fun. Although, check this out, from where they cut the tube to, like, I don't know, I guess your dick. There's like 3 months worth of baby batter there that you got to get rid of. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. So, yeah. Anyway, it's always like something like 20 nuts or whatever. So I said to Beck, I was like, oh, unfortunately, we've got some chores to do. So she's a good sport. Yeah. So anyway, we yeah, so did that. Shot back, had my vasectomy. Oh, sorry, my vasectomy meeting and stuff. And yeah, then we got home and just started unpacking the car and stuff. And I was thinking, I kind of had this concept pop up in my mind the other day where I was thinking about how, like, it's the okay, when you think about making love, right? Is that you're like you're creating love, or maybe in respect of, say, like, sexual interaction, you're amplifying that love, right? But I was thinking about, like, man, like, really, we should be making love all day, and that's what we've been doing on holidays. Is that, you know very light and very free and present and grounded with each other, and so I found myself, like, very often I would just go up to Beck and I would like hold her, or I would like kiss her and joke with her, and I kind of had this like little thing, little like I concept kind of pop up in my mind where it's like, man, really we should be making love all day, and obviously all the dudes like, yeah, but like um what I mean by that is that it's like you, at any given point, you're looking at the person and you're seeing what kind of love they need, because sometimes people just need like a little pick me up, like a little word of encouragement. Sometimes it might mean like you spin it around and you make out with them. Sometimes it might mean that you put the dishes away or whatever it is. But it's just like you constantly making love. You're doing things to build the love that you have, and how could you not want to be passionately intimate with someone at the end of the day? When you've been building this love all day, and then you get to express that love. And yeah, and it's cool. It's really cool. You know, I don't know if I mentioned this in one of the earlier notes. I'll just see if I've got it in my notes from earlier. Um, yeah, but I was also thinking around like when it comes time for us to, or when Beck is able to be intimate again, that how I don't want to just, well, more or less just like let her, if my goal is not like just to try and like come, right, if that's not the goal, and the goal is just intimacy, and I don't care, like I don't care if I actually get my nut off, then I'm able to be totally present, and be able to be like conscious of like what does her body need, what is her body saying, and sometimes it might just be a snuggle, sometimes it might be like what, just being open to whatever she needs, rather than actually just being like, okay, this, we're having sex now and it's sex, so and kind of extending that logic across the whole day, being like, okay, well, rather than just having it in the bedroom, being like, what does she need, and being conscious, and looking at what she needs, and then doing that, and meeting those needs for her. So yeah, so that's going to be cool. Yeah, so Lexi, so Beck read a lot of this Montessori book, or not a lot, but quite a bit of the Montessori book while we're driving back, and it's really cool coming back, because we're both starting to see how, I guess, where the kids are at and what they need, and that's been really, really cool. And Lexi just loves making lists and writing, and she made me this list, and it was like, oh, Dad, she had this I don't have it in here with me. Um, there's two things I have to do. I have to make my bed, so I had a little tick box, make bed, and a picture of me in my bed, and then the other one was another tick box that said make something, and I don't even know what she drew at the end. I can't remember, and then right at the bottom she said, "I love you, Dad," and she's just at this age where she loves writing and she loves order, and it's funny because that's reflected in this Montessori book as well, and and she's so sweet. Hey, I got really frustrated with Sterling just because he just would not shut up, and it's amazing what babies will do to full-grown adults. Hey, and yeah, and I got pretty frustrated where I held him at this. I was like, shush. And Lex, she's so, I never wanted to feel like she's responsible for people's actions and behaviors or anything like that. I never want that. But she came back not long after that with her bracelet, and all it was like a pendant fed through on some string. It came back and gave it to me. It was just like, oh, Dad, I made this for you, and and she's so sweet. But I never want her to feel the responsibility of trying to make other people happy. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, um, one of the things I've been like really trying to be conscious of is making sure that like I capture all these little moments with the kids. They're so fleeting, and I know Seneca talks about how like these little moments and these small moments are the things that matter more, and it's like you're holding like a whole handful of sand and they slip between your fingers, and because they can fall between your fingers is why we think that they're insignificant, but they're really the most important parts. And that's kind of what I've learned to believe as well, is that the girls, you know they've got these like all these tiny little things that happen every single day. I might have to go. Sorry, the kids are cutting sick. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to shoot. But yeah, all these little moments, those are the ones I want to try and capture because those are really the sweet memories. Anyway, that was it. That was the end of today. Anyway.